Hi, welcome back to our Cisco SD-WAN course. In this video, we'll discuss about the different types of components which are available in the Cisco SD-WAN solution. Also, we will discuss on each of their roles in the network. Okay, let's start. Just a moment. The playlist for this complete Cisco SD-WAN course is available in the description box below and also here in the cards. To encourage me, please do like, share and subscribe. Also hit the notification bell icon so my effort will reach you on time. Let's look at the different types of components. The first one is vBond, which will be the orchestration plane. vManage and vAnalytics are the management plane components. vSmart is the control plane component and data plane will be the WAN edge routers. Let's start by looking at the vBond in detail. You can think about vBond as the gatekeeper. Every device in the Cisco SD-WAN solution, including the vManage, vSmart, and WAN routers, must first authenticate themselves successfully with the vBond, and then only they will be able to speak with any other components in the network. Distributes list of vSmart's vManage to all managed routers. When an router in any site comes up, it first reaches out to the vBond, and vBond is the one who will inform the edge router about the other controllers in the network. Facilitates NAT traversal. The vBond does act as stun server, meaning in case if you have a branch where the ISP have provided you a modem and the SD-WAN router is connected behind the modem, in this case the SD-WAN router will mostly get a private IP address assigned by the modem, and when the traffic exits the modem, it will NAT it to the public IP. In this case, the vBond will be able to identify both the private and public IP addresses natively. Requires public IP address. When we bring up a vBond, wherever it may be, in a cloud or on-prem, if the vBond is sitting behind a NAT, it should be one-to-one NAT. Also, we have to make sure that every device in the network should be able to reach to the vBond IP at any given case. Highly resilient. We can have multiple vBonds in a network for redundancy. Mostly it will be one in DC and one in DR. Next one is the vManage. Single pane of glass for day 0, day 1 and day 2 operations. vManage is basically your one-stop graphical user interface for everything. New device bring up, changes to an existing network, monitoring the performance of the network, reporting, etc. Multi-tenant with web scale. vManage can be either single tenant or multi-tenant. Both options are available. Centralized provisioning, meaning any new device bring up is done with the support of vManage. Policies and templates. Network-wide policies or device-specific policies, everything will be created in the vManage only. Followed by troubleshooting and monitoring, which can also be done from the vManage. Software upgrades, obviously, can be done from the vManage. GUI with RBAC, role-based access control is available in vManage, meaning we can customize which user gets access to which sections of the vManage page. Programmatic interfaces, so REST and netconf options are available. The next big thing with vManage is APIs, right? We can query the vManage with API calls so that it returns the required data. This can be further used to prepare our own custom dashboards, or we can do even configuration changes to the vManage using the APIs. Highly resilient. We can have multiple vManage devices built in a cluster for redundancy purposes. One other component in the Cisco SD-WAN solution is vAnalytics. The first thing to note about vAnalytics is that it is only available as a SaaS, just like your Office 365. The vAnalytics in general is the component which is going to provide you rich analytics about your network, starting from link utilization up to granular application level reports. On a high level, the vManage actually collects the data from all the SD-WAN routers and then share the raw data with vAnalytics. vAnalytics will process this data to provide us the great reports. If possible, I will give you a walkthrough of this vAnalytics component in our video series. Remember, vAnalytics is an optional component. It is only for reporting purposes. Next, let's look at the control plane component of Cisco SD-WAN solution, which is the vSmart. Facilitates fabric discovery. vSmart is the device which shares the control plane information between the WAN edge routers in all the sites. The SD-WAN routers doesn't share the routing informations directly between them. vSmart is very similar to a BGP route reflector, but with advanced functionalities. Dissimulates control plane information between WAN edges, meaning it does share the routing updates between SD-WAN routers in different sites. It does exchange the route, right? So it sits between, so the routers doesn't exchange directly, so it does exchange via the vSmart always. distributes data plane and app-aware routing policies to the WAN edge routers. vSmart is responsible for key exchange as well. As you are aware, the primary functionality of any SD-WAN is security. Data traffic is completely encrypted between the sites. For this encryption to happen, we need a key exchange, right? How do we do this in our regular IPsec tunnel? We create phase 1 to securely exchange the key, isn't it? But here, since we already have vSmart available, and also WAN edge and vSmart have a secure control connections between them already built, right? The key exchange between the sites will happen through this tunnel with the help of vSmart. Basically, the edge router advertises the key to the vSmart, vSmart will advertise back to the other sites. vSmart also helps in pushing the application-aware routing policies to the required sites. Both of these things we'll look in detail in later sections. Implements control plane policies such as the service chaining, multi-topology, and multi-hop. In Cisco SD-WAN, we do service chaining and a lot of other things. In all those cases, vSmart will be the one implementing those changes in the network. We can dig deep into this as well in later sections. Dramatically reduces control plane complexity. Since you understand all the SD-WAN routers doesn't exchange routing information or other information directly between them, rather they always communicate via the vSmart. There is no need for direct peerings between the sites. Obviously, this reduces major complications in the control plane. Highly resilient, yes, we can have multiple vSmarts for redundancy purposes. Let me stop here a bit. So far we have learned about vBond, vManage, vSmart and vAnalytics. These are the controllers. Maybe they are sitting in the customer data center itself or in a Cisco's data center or in AWS, Azure, cloud, anywhere. These components is going to take place only in the control plane of the solution, not in the data plane at all. Remember this, okay? The final device which we are going to discuss is about the SD-WAN edge router. Throughout this series, you will hear me calling these in common as WAN edge routers. Hope you know Viptela was a separate organization before. Cisco have acquired it. After Cisco acquiring Viptela, there have been huge enhancements to the solution. One of it is making all the existing Cisco routers to support or join the Viptela SD-WAN solution. Viptela had their own hardware before, which we will term them as V-edges. And also Cisco routers which can support SD-WAN is called C-edges. So if you hear me saying V-edge, I'm trying to mean Viptela hardware, and if I say C-edge, it is a Cisco hardware. Having said this, there is no major technical differentiations between a C-edge and a V-edge. The CLA configurations does differ. Also, we may have to create separate templates in vManage if it is a V-edge or a C-edge router. Don't worry, I do have both flavors of routers in my lab topology, which we'll cover in this series so that it will give you a clear understanding and differentiation between them. Now, provide secure data plane with remote WAN edge routers. The primary role of this WAN edge router sitting in a branch location or in a data center is in the data plane, right? They forward the data packets securely between the sites. The routing and the IPsec key details are shared by the controllers to these WAN edge routers, as we already discussed in the previous slides. Establishes secure control plane with vSmart controllers, OMP. As discussed earlier, there will be a secure control plane connection built from the WAN edge routers to the vSmart. Via this tunnel, the routing updates, policy updates, IPsec details are shared securely. The protocol which is going to support to exchange all these details between vSmart and vEdge routers is OMP. We'll look at this OMP in a separate video in detail. Implements data plane and application aware routing policies. When there is a need that you want to do application based routing and you create a policy, obviously you will create the policy in vManage via GUI, the graphical user interface, but it will be pushed all the way up to the WAN edge routers so that they will be able to send the data traffic according to the policy. Leverages traditional routing protocols. Now, where this WAN edge router will connect to onto the LAN side, obviously to any core switch in the site, right? So it does support traditional routing protocols as well. Not only in the LAN side, we can definitely configure these protocols on the WAN side as well. Support zero-touch deployment. It is nothing but, say for instance, you buy a new router and send it directly to your branch office. You can call your local admin there to connect the router to an internet link with DHCP DNS enabled. you're good to go. The router have capability to automatically find a way to reach the vBond, vManage, and vSmart devices and join the SD-WAN overlay. This is called as ZTP. We'll discuss this in detail as well in the upcoming videos. Physical or virtual form factor. We have hardware routers and also virtual routers. The virtual routers are mostly brought up in the cloud data centers like AWS, Azure. Note, in our course, we will be using these virtual routers only in our lab to demonstrate. We'll discuss further when we reach that stage. Okay, just a quick recap of the components that make up the Cisco SD-WAN solutions. They are vBond, vSmart, vManage, and the managed routers. It can be either vEdge or cEdge. Okay, vAnalytics is an optional component only, and it is available as a SaaS solution. Whether you deploy the controllers, which is the vManage, vSmart, or vBond, in an on-prem DC or anywhere in a cloud, they are only available as a virtual component. So basically, you will be bringing up these as virtual machines on top of an hypervisor. There is both support for ESXi and KVM hypervisors as well. As we discussed already, WAN edges can be both physical or virtual. Also note that there is as many as variety of Cisco hardwares out there which can support SD-WAN functionality. Say for instance, ISR 4K, ISR 1K, ASRs, etc. does support Cisco. Thanks for watching the video. Hope it was informative. Do comment below for any queries or suggestions. The playlist for this complete Cisco SD-WAN course is available in the description box below and also here in the cards. If you want to encourage me, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. If you think some of your friends or colleagues will find my content or channel useful, do share, and also do not forget to hit the notification bell icon.